So, okay, good morning and welcome you all to this discussion
Good
of.
morning, sir.
So, how you people are doing?
Good morning, sir.
So, let us start the discussion. If you have any doubts from the lecture notes, lecture videos. Yeah?
Sir, in the proof of r delta pi greater than equal to r delta naught pi,
Uh-huh.
um, can you explain again the steps after the greater than equal to sign first introduced in the
This
proof?
is about which, is it about some result or what? Can you tell me the context, little bit background?
That was a theorem, that is expectation of x, s given x of loss equal to infimum of
Okay.
expectation of.
So, base action is the base rule, right? That is kind of a thing you're talking about.
Yes.
So, let me.
Sir, can you also tell the theorem also? You have not mentioned the statement of the theorem fully.
Where, let me just check. So this is the thing. This is the result you are talking about. Let me just share the screen first. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
So this is the result you are talking about. Let delta not be a non-randomized decision rule such that for any x belonging to x, expected value of L as delta not x as given x equal to x is minimum over. So these are posterior laws, right? Posterior means because here S corresponds to the theta, right? Unknown state of nature. So this S random variable corresponds to the theta, which is random. And expectation is respect to distribution of S given x equal to x. That means expectation with respect to theta given x equal to x. So what it says is you look at the posterior laws, which is, these are posterior laws. Posterior is means anything which is with respect to distribution of S given x, theta given x. So look at the posterior laws and then look at what A it is minimized. So delta naught x, because it is going to depend on where x is fixed. So this minimization is going to depend on what x is. And suppose that minimization is at delta naught x, right? So you're trying to minimize this for every fixed x. So you're trying to minimize the posterior expected loss for
Sir,
every, yeah.
sir, some persons are in waiting room.
That's a problem. I can't see them even. Okay. You see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So the idea is you minimize this posterior expected loss and see at what A for a given x it is minimized. Suppose for a given x, the minimizing A is delta naught x. It says then delta naught is base respect to pi. So the idea is what I try to do is I try to look at the risk function of any given decision rule delta. So let delta be any decision rule. This could be randomized. That's the reason I have written delta dot given delta. For given x, let yx be the random variable to yx, right? So every randomized decision rule has a random variable corresponding to this. So for every fixed x, there is a random variable because for every fixed x, randomized estimator is a probability distribution. So for every fixed x, there is a random variable. So I'm calling that as y. So what is the first stage randomization? You do a randomization with respect to this yx, which is acting on an action space. So this same as L theta, L star theta delta for given x, same as expected value of L theta. Is that okay? Is this step clear? L star theta delta x is the expected loss for a given x. So this same as expected value of L theta yx. Yx corresponds to the xn. What is the risk? Risk is now you do second randomization with respect to distribution of x given theta. And this is expectation with respect to x given theta. X given s is equal to theta of L star theta delta x, which is same as Lx s equal to theta, then expected value of yx, which I put it over here, and so on. Now in the Bayesian setup, there is a third step of randomization because theta is also a random variable. Now inner expectation x and s were fixed, yx was fixed. So I look at what is the base risk. R pi delta is the expected value of the usual risk for a fixed theta. This was a risk for a fixed theta. Now theta is represented by a random variable s, which is a random quantity. So I'm taking expected value with respect to this, which is same as E. So I put E of s over here, E of x given s over here, E of yx of ls yx. Is that clear up to this point?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
It's like this?
Hello,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Sir, are we considering x to be constant here?
No, now x
So-
was constant over here up to the first stage randomization. Because
So,
this,
sir, when we consider x to be constant, in
x I am not considering to be constant. I am considering x to be fixed. X is
no,
never
sir, but in this week's lecture videos,
Yeah.
you have considered somewhere that x to be constant and take it out of the conditional. I did not understand that step.
That has to, unless I see the context, I must have done it in 10
Oh.
places. I'll tell you over here.
Okay, sir.
I'll tell it over here how it happens. You
Okay,
see,
sir.
one has to look at what you're talking about. You're talking about the average loss or the average risk, right? Now, when you're talking about average, you're taking averages with respect to certain things. So that means you're talking about randomizations at various stages. So what are the various stages of randomization? The first randomization takes place after you have observed x. You have observed x, and then you take action, which is random, right? Which is at this stage of randomization. For a given observation x, this is the observation you observe. What is the expected loss if you use the decision rule delta? Because delta is doing a randomization after observing x. So for a fixed x, delta has a random variable corresponding to it, this, which is yx, which is acting on action space. Loss function is L theta A, so it will be L theta of yx, expected value of L theta of yx. So this kind of a quantity. So here x is fixed for a given x, right? Now what is the second state of randomization? Now this x is random. You do not know in advance what x you are going to observe. Then you take expected value of respect to all possible realizations of x, which gives you a risk at point delta theta. So here I have taken now expected value. Now here what is happening? X is fixed. Now I am taking expectation with respect to random variable x. X now I have made it a random variable. So this x you see has become a random variable over here. So expected value of x given s equal to theta of L star theta delta x, which is same as expected value of x given s equal to theta, expected value of yx of L theta yx, right? So nothing very great. Now, this is the risk for a fixed theta. When theta is the true state of nature, the risk in using decision rule delta is given by this, which will be a function of theta. Now, in the Bayesian setup, you say that this theta itself is a random variable, right? So you say, so then I can talk about even average of this R delta theta over all possible realizations of theta. So that gives me R pi delta, which is now this theta is represented by a random variable. So R delta S, and I take expected with respect to S. Three expectations: ES, EX given S, E of YX, L theta, LS YX. Is that clear now up to this point? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's the reason why three-stage randomization. The first stage randomization, X was fixed. So that is why expected value of Y, X. Second stage randomization, now you take this average respect to all X's. This is what this. Now here theta is fixed. Now you take average respect to all. Now the idea is, what I try to do is, So this is same as Ex, E of, so this expectation is to do S and conditional distribution of X given S. So outer two expectations, if you look at, they can be written as expectation of a joint distribution of X and S. Yes or no? You see these two expectations, outside expectations, E of S, E of X given S. So it is a conditional distribution of X given S into marginal of S. So this expectation, if you combine together, it becomes expectation with respect to joint distribution of X and S. Yes? Joint distribution of X and S can alternatively be written as conditional distribution of S given X into marginal of X. Is that okay? This was with respect to joint distribution of X and S. This is also with respect to joint distribution of X and S, except that now I have written down it in two different forms. Here S was fixed, here X is fixed. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So nothing. So basically, it is what I have done is I have changed order of integrations. Three integrals were there. I have just changed the order of integration. Okay. Now what I do is in E of S given X, X is fixed. So what I do is I take this inside E of Yx. So again, order of integration I change. I bring Yx outside E of S given X. There is no problem. Right? Is that clear? Now, I would like to add a word of caution. Here, I cannot interchange this and this. E of X and E of S given X. Why?
Because sir, X is involved in Yx and
Here
S
X is
given X.
fixed. Here X is fixed, then you are integrating out X. But here what is happening is, in this and this, both X is fixed. X is integrated out only on the outside integral. So this I can change because in the both X is fixed. And that is what I've done. E of Ix I have brought outside and E of S given X. But what was delta naught X? Delta naught X was minimizing this quantity for every fixed X. Right? That is what it was. Delta naught X is. E of S X given X equal to L S delta naught X is minimum over A L theta. So if you take the second argument, delta naught X gives you the minimum of expected value of S given X equal to X of LS A for every fixed X. So what happens? Whatever Yx may be, as long as X is fixed, this is minimized at delta naught X. Now this happens for every X. And you know that if Hx is greater than or equal to H1x is greater than or equal to H2x for every X, the expected value of H1x would be greater than or equal to expected value of H2x. And that is what is happening over here, because this quantity is always greater than or equal to delta naught X for every X. If you keep X to be fixed.
Sir,
Yeah.
is delta not non-randomized here?
Delta naught would be certainly non-randomized because it doesn't depend on any randomization.
Oh, sir. Sir, why, sir, we are taking delta naught as non-randomized?
You see, I can come one by one unless this first clear this point, this proof.
Oh, okay, sir.
Right?
Hmm.
Is this clear? Delta naught X minimizes this.
Yes, sir.
That is by definition. So that is why this would always be greater than or equal to this, because delta naught X is minimum for every fixed X. So when you take the average, then also it is, you get the inequality. But what was happening? Now random variable Yx is gone. There is no Yx sitting over here anywhere because this Yx has been replaced by the minimum possible value of Yx. So that means this expectation has no meaning because random variable Yx itself has vanished. So there is no role of Yx. So this is same as Ex of E of S given X of L as delta naught X. But what is this? Delta naught X is non-randomized. That is clear. That would be same as R pi delta naught because there is no second stage randomization. Though here there will be only two expectations. This expectation will not be there, E of Yx, because there is that okay? Because there is no delta naught X is a fixed quantity. Now why delta naught X is non-randomized, it is clear from the definition itself. What it says, after X is given to you, once X is given to you, you look at expected value of S given X equal to whatever X is given to you of LSA, which is a fixed quantity depending on X. Look at the minimum of this. And if minimum of that is attained at delta naught x, you take delta naught x to be your estimator. So there is no randomization. After you have obtained x, you get the estimator directly. There is no randomization. After x is obtained, you minimize this quantity. Whatever is the minimizer, you take that as an estimator. There is no randomization I'm doing. I'm just solving a mathematical problem, which is finding a minimum of our function.
Okay, sir, got it.
Right? So there is no randomization. And that is why when I write down this as a base list, there is no third stage randomization. Delta naught x just depends on, it is degenerate random variable. Delta naught x is a degenerate random variable. So here yx is a degenerate random variable delta naught x. So there is no need to write down E of yx. Is that okay? So that is what. So what it says is, for finding the Bayes rule, it is enough to minimize the posterior loss. And this also says, for finding the Bayes rule, it is enough to consider non-randomized rules, because there will always exist a non-randomized rule which is Bayes. Is that okay? Is that clear to everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Can I stop sharing for the time being? Yeah. Anything else?
Sir, in the week 5 module 24,
Right.
is there some part missing in the initial part of the video? I mailed you about it.
No, you see, what has happened is initially I had recorded all these videos to be 1 hour videos. Then I realized 1 hour possibly video would be too long because your attention span may not be that long. So I've cut them into parts. So those 1 hour videos have been cut at some point around 30 minutes. So it may look like sometimes that there is some overlap from the last part or something. It is not a starting point. Sometimes, especially the second part of the videos of 1 hour videos may sometimes look like it is not a starting of a video. And which is true because those videos have been cut into 2 parts. But if there is any technical doubt, I can just try to relook at that video if you have any technical doubt in that.
Sir, I think some part of that video is cut out.
Achha, which one is this?
Sir, because when we start that video, there is
Module 24.
24. Let me just check it.
We saw that arose when we were dealing with a scale family. So this was the form of a scale invariant process. So what I have to minimize? I have to minimize I of A, which is expected value of S given X.
This is the one you're talking about?
A by psi theta.
Yes, sir.
So where is the problem?
And
We call that as
at the beginning. Yes.
So we start from here, right?
from the worst scenario.
yes, sir.
And
Sir, the board behind you, there's the thing you have written in the previous lecture, that things were not written.
They were
So,
not- Okay, maybe I'll check that if there is some.
the name for this? Minimax.
Let me just check the previous one also.
So minimize is
23 you're talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
additional info by at least delta dot x up with
So this is what I'm doing the proof of that result,
and then
right? Which I just mentioned.
E of
So
y
this is the proof of that result.
This is your frequentist list of delta naught.
Right? This is the proof which I did just now. Okay. To find Bayes rule, it is enough to consider. Okay.
minimize this time. The sources of information about theta. One was the prior information. In this period that has been traced and gotten into the posterior distribution. If I have to consider posterior distribution, the natural thing to consider is the posterior loss, which is S, and think of minimizing this. So what this result says is once we do that, we minimize the posterior loss, that gives me the base estimated, which is the one which minimizes the average risk over all figures. So let me stop over here and take from this point onwards in the next one.
Yeah, so that is a starting of the lecture.
This kind of a loss function we saw that arose when we were using this flex.
Let me just check. So I talked about there that posterior loss, you try to minimize it, and that gives you the base.
From the worst scenario.
Oh, this, I think there is more overlap, I think.
Call that as
There is a more overlap.
so that is the d pi through 6 days, minimize the maximum risk. So then, what is that?
So this is what we did.
And
And
theta A.
so let me just come slowly.
So it is the usual PDF, the frequentist PDF that you have, which is with the f of x, the marginal of x. What is the Q of x? This can be going further in terms of a conditional, and now everything has been combined.
In fact, if you look at the, there is no loss of material. I think they have broken it somewhere and then they have tried to fix it. So in terms of material, everything is there.
When your loss function is of the type A upon site, A upon a big.
So rest of the video is okay.
So there is,
There is only problem in the beginning.
I think
Nothing
that
else.
part you can ignore in the beginning.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Sir, here in this module 24,
Yeah,
in the definition of posterior distribution,
right.
in the numerator you wrote d pi theta. Sir, d pi theta means f theta theta.
D pi
D
theta. D pi theta.
Yes, sir.
So you let me write down. Let me just see if I can come over in the posterior distribution, right?
Yes, sir.
A measure. So you see what happens is in statistics. So in mathematics, there is a concept of a measure, right? I don't know. Have you done a little bit of measure theory somewhere?
Yes, sir.
Right. So there is a concept of a measure. Now, when you talk about a measure basically measures something, right? For example, area is a measure, length is a measure. The same way, probability is a measure, right? So probability is a measure, except that probability is a finite measure. That means pi of whole space is 1, right? Area is not a finite measure because pi of whole space is infinite. So normally when we talk about prior distribution, I can talk about the corresponding measure. So for example, if density is, if you are given a density, what is a measure corresponding to that? Anyone? So measure pi of A would be nothing but integral over A, integral over set A of fx dx. That is what pi measure is, right? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So in measure theory, whenever you talk about an integral, integral is always back to a measure, right? So here also, when I write on d pi theta, it means it is an integral respect to that measure. So for example, if pi was a normal distribution, pi was a measure corresponding to normal distribution, that means it is an integral respect to density of a normal distribution. Is that okay? When I write down d pi theta. I don't know where, which part you had said this is there.
In the module 24, in the definition of posterior distribution.
So for example, here, let us, are you seeing the screen?
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Let me, you want me to go to the video or lecture notes?
So video, sir.
Your lecture.
Module 20.
Which module? 24.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let us see.
I know this is same as
Okay, we are talking here.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Posterior distribution. We go further, right?
so.
Sir, exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
Exactly.
right.
This is the
Yes, sir. Yes.
This
Okay.
is the thing that I have created by theta.
You see, normally this pi is a measure. So when I'm talking about d pi theta is a density of that distribution of theta. Is that okay?
Everything has been squeezed into
Okay.
Right.
So
D pi theta. So pi would normally see every distribution function gives you a measure,
the base
right?
action is
Every distribution function gives you a measure. So pi you can consider to be. You see, for example, when you write down expectation, sometimes you write down as d of fx, right?
Yes, sir.
D of fx. So what does it mean is the integral is respect to the measure determined by f. So when I'm writing down d pi theta, it means it is a integral respect to density determined by theta, and d pi theta means it is density over here, right? If in very loose term you want to understand.
the thing which
Is that okay?
is part of the action. Then we saw that
Okay.
So
Sir, but
X,
but
d pi
sir,
theta, that is what was here, right?
sir, if d pi theta is density, then in the denominator there should be another d theta at the end.
So d pi theta takes care of that. D pi theta would be pi prime theta d theta,
that minimizes
Okay, sir.
right? So pi prime theta is the density, and d theta. Here d theta will not come actually. So is that okay?
Okay.
So it basically it corresponds to density. Yeah. Anything else?
So in the absolute error loss,
Right.
the we take the posterior median as our Bayesian action. Sir, but sir, here the expectation is with respect to s given x.
As given x, yeah.
But if we know that if the expectation is with respect to psi of s, then it is clear that the posterior median is that
Is
posterior median is the Bayesian error. But can I say immediately that if the expectation with respect to s given x, then also it will be minimum at the median?
no. So what you need is you need a result that expected value of x minus a. X has a certain distribution.
Hmm.
Expected value of mod of x minus a is minimum 1
At median of x.
when a is the median of x.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Absolute error, what you are doing is the base action is the one which minimizes expected value of s given x equal to x of mod of s minus a. Is that okay?
Sir, please can you repeat?
When we talk about if your loss function is absolute error, right? That means L theta A is nothing but mod of A minus theta, right? What is a posterior loss? Posterior loss is expected value of S, which is corresponds to theta, given x equal to x, of mod of theta is S minus A. Is that okay?
Okay.
Right. Now I try to find out the A which minimizes expected value of S given x equal to x of mod of S minus A. So what should be the A? The minimizing A would be nothing but the median of the distribution of S given x equal to x, because expectation is taken with respect to S given x equal to x. So the distribution involved is the distribution of S given x equal to x. So for a fixed x, A would be minimized when A is the posterior median of S given x equal to x. So what does that mean? That means your base xn is nothing but whatever the minimizing A is for every fixed x. Now for every fixed x is posterior median of a distribution of S given x equal to x. So that is the reasoning, right?
Okay, sir.
Yes, any other?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you explain the purpose of improper prior?
So you see, improper prior is like this. Sometimes what may happen is you may have a rough idea about the prior. Like you say that you don't want to favor any particular point, right? What does that mean? That means the density of theta is constant, right? That is what it means. No theta in one neighborhood is not more favorable than the theta in the other neighborhood. That means density is constant, like it happens in the uniform distribution, right? Uniform distribution says that all points are more or less equally likely, or what you say is any interval of same length has the same probability. It does not depend where that interval is located, right? So now this uniform distribution, when we talk about, that means I'm not favoring any particular point. This happens only when theta is finite, because your probability density has to be finite. Probability measure has to be finite. So that means this has a limitation. So the question comes, if theta is unbounded, like in the normal mean case, what does a uniform distribution means? So uniform distribution over there would mean that my density is constant throughout whole real line.
Yes, sir.
The moment you take that, then you realize that you don't get a finite measure, because density total integral turns out to be infinite.
Infinite.
So pi of whole r becomes infinite. So it says there is no harm for in the Bayesian setup. You can also consider situations where your density is not a proper density, because intuitively that looks like okay, and let us try to see what kind of estimators do you get by considering such a scenario. So this is one motivation for considering improper prior distributions, which leads to generalized Bayes estimators. Okay, you call it a generalized Bayes. Generalized means they are general in the sense that they correspond to a prior distribution which may not be finite when integrated out. So I have given you a simple explanation. One can go for a much more advanced explanation in terms of information contained in theta and so on. So I gave you very straightforward and very simple explanation which is easy to understand. Is that okay? Did I make sense when I?
Sir, but sir, the purpose of taking a prior distribution when we have some information about that nature.
Right.
So we always use some statistic from where we can infer some information about theta. But sir, in improper prior, the concept, sir, I did not.
So as I understand, so what happens is, from the theoretical point of from a practical point of view, what you're saying is perfectly fine. That in real life, if you have a prior information, you would like to quantify it in terms of some probability distribution, because you draw histograms and so on, and then you try to quantify it. But when we do in the mathematical statistics, it goes beyond what happens in the theory, because when you try to include much more general things, it gives you more insight into the kind of estimators which you will be considering. Now, the intuition suggests that improper prior makes sense to consider at least theoretically, right? Because they are just guided by your intuition. And why you are not able to do it? Because in the beginning, theoretically, you said that you like to have a density to finite, and that is what was restricting you to consider improper prior likes constant in the whole real line, as happens in the normal case. So he said, let us loosen my framework in which I was working with him so far. The applied person would like to work within that framework because he knows the tools only, right? He'll use one of the softwares to model theta and then do it. But a person who is more mathematical, has a more mathematical temper, would like to further see what happens if I consider these kind of a priors. One sees that if one considers generalized Bayes priors, sometimes you are able to get good estimators.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So, first of all, these generalized prior are guided by your intuition. But what is guided by your intuition is further gives you good results. That means you are able to get nice estimators. For example, X bar in the normal case cannot be based respect to any prior. X bar estimator, which is a sample mean, cannot be based respect to any prior. So what you know is sample mean is not based irrespective of what prior you take. But the initial question is it somewhere near to the base? If not base? So the answer is somewhere near to base means, can I relax a little bit my condition so that it becomes a base? Then you say that, look, if you consider your prior to be uniform on whole R, which is not a proper density, then it will become a base. So X bar becomes a base, which is a generalized, we call it as a generalized base with respect to a prior, which is uniform on whole real line. Uniform whole real line means its density is constant on the whole real line. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
It's more for theoretical. So practically what you said was perfectly fine, that in practical applications prior would be given, so I'd like to break a histogram and so on. But this is more for theoretical interest. In practice, you'll not be able to get what kind of a prior you will, especially generalized prior. That means density.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yes, any other doubt? So you see, I'll pose the solutions of assignment number 3. What I am deciding is from problem assignment number 4 onwards, I may not be able to pose solutions because it is taking too much toll on me. My whole time is just going in writing down the assignments. You see, fearing assignment becomes very difficult job. But if you tell me in advance that this question I would like to see, that I may try to do. That also I don't guarantee, but I'll try my best. That look, this problem, these are the problems where people have a more doubt, and then I can try to write down solutions for only those problems. But that you'll have to tell in advance before the tutorial, so that next tutorial when I can come prepared with those handwritten solutions, and then I can show it to you. All right. This assignment number 3 anyway I'll post because solutions that I've already prepared. Yeah. Any doubt? No doubts you have? So now when is our exam? '12th, right?
Yes, sir. 12th.
12th from 9 to 12, right?
Sir, 8 to 10.
8 to 10, sorry, yeah, it will be 2 hours exam. So 8. Yeah. So I hope you people are not collaborating in the quizzes, and because you remember the grading scheme is absolute, cum, relative. So if you collaborate and try to help each other, finally your grade would be affected, because when I do the relative grading, there could be a problem. So make sure that if you try to help a person, you'll not be helping him, neither you'll be helping you nor the person. If you try to use unfair means to pass on your solutions to somebody else, that may finally affect you. Because finally, if you see the grading scheme, it is going to be in terms of a relative as well. And if I see that there is a good evidence that many of you have collaborated in helping each other, then I may use that stricter grading, which is maximum of the two, relative and absolute. Right? So just make sure, this is just a word of caution. I sincerely hope that you are not indulging into that. But in case if you get tempted because of your very close friendship and other factors, just be a little bit cautious. All right. Yeah. Anything else you want to?
Sir, what is the syllabus for medicine?
अरे अभी तो बहुत दूर है भाई. You have 2 weeks, right? This week and then you have a next week also, right? So whatever
Yes, sir.
whatever would be taught till next week, right?
Okay, sir. And sir, could you please upload the notes of this week?
I have uploaded already.
Oh, okay, sir.
Base and max, na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's there. Now it's there. It just got delayed somehow. I don't know.
Oh, okay, sir.
It's already there because today I showed it from that website also.
Actually, yesterday I checked and didn't get that.
10 in the morning, right?
Yes.
Maybe I posted it afterwards. And I posted the assignment also, I think.
Okay, sir.
So it will be up to this assignment only. The one which I have posted yesterday. What is that? Base and min-max estimation. So full possibly I may not be able to cover until next week also. But essentially up to this assignment number 4. Assignment number 3 solutions I might post in a day or 2. 4 I may not be able to do, but if you tell me in advance that these are the problems you are having a difficulty, I may do that. If the need be, otherwise I can explain it in one of our Zoom meetings. And yeah, please ask any doubts if you have, or any suggestions you want to give about this online teaching. Yeah. You're enjoying this or hating it?
Yes, sir. It is
Not
good.
enjoying, sir.
It's good.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying by heart or just?
No, sir. It's truly good.
Okay, good. So that's good. No, just enjoy whatever you are doing. Is enjoy. Right. So this, as I told you in the beginning, it's not what you finally learn in terms of few theorems or few lemmas. You would remember this whole process which you went through. Asking questions, preparing for midsems, coping up with midsems, handling it even with when you didn't have proper preparation. This process is very important. One should not try to miss that because that's a very important part of your education. And if you're enjoying the subject, then enjoy it to the full extent and try to do the best. Many of you may be here just for getting IIT brand and then landing up in some analytics company. That is also fine because finally what you do in life is what matters is what you enjoy. But they'll not be shortcuts because even to get a degree, IIT degree, there's some minimum amount of process you have to go. Right? So you see the reason I'm doing this preaching is that you understand whatever you do at any given point of time, it gets just accumulated and it just passes on to the future. Yes, anything you else you can ask? How was the quiz?
Sir,
Yeah, somebody was asking.
so when we consider the limiting sense of the posterior distribution, when does the situation arise?
When does the situation, I didn't get your question precisely.
I'm asking that when do we consider the limiting sense of the posterior distribution in practical purpose or theoretical?
Right. You see, whenever we talk about prior distribution always has parameters, right? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So let us say if I assume I'm estimating normal with mean theta and variance 1, right? And I'm estimating theta. So my parent population is normal theta 1. What is the posterior distribution for normal? One can see the posterior distribution for normal is normal only, right? So a good thing would be, there may be situations where, let us say, you assume that theta is normally distributed. So that means the mean which you want to estimate, that itself is a random variable which is normally distributed with mean alpha naught and variance, let us say, beta naught, right? So prior distribution has, now this prior information has an information about your theta, unknown state of nature. So its parameter have a certain information about this unknown state of nature, right? So you get a certain base estimator for this prior distribution, right? And we have said that if you, as we'll see later, it would be a weighted mean of the two. So you have two sources of information, one from the sample, one from the prior distribution. So NAV would say, bhai, if I'm just sitting on a, like a clerk in a table, say, bhai, I have got two information. One is coming from the prior distribution and one is coming from the data. I would say, bhai, you use both and mix them and use both the information in some mixed way, which correspond to saying that because you're estimating mean, you're saying that you use the mean of the both in certain way. So one is a sample mean, that is x bar. What is the mean of the prior distribution, alpha naught? So it says you choose alpha naught and take some weighted mean of alpha naught and x bar. That looks like a reasonable estimator, which for that you don't need Bayesian analysis, which just follows by your intuition. So it could be an estimator of the type alpha x bar plus 1 minus alpha times x bar plus 1 minus alpha times theta, have assumed as beta alpha naught, 1 minus alpha times. So convex combination of alpha naught. In fact, what you see is under squared error loss function, the base estimator turns out to be this, with alpha naught proportional to the variances, the two variances. For example, variance of x bar is sigma square by n, and variance of theta was beta naught. So it is convex combination of the two. You can see. So I want to see, as my prior information varies, because prior information would vary as those parameters vary. How does the estimator changes? Now note that my estimator, a prior distribution is alpha naught and beta naught. If beta naught goes to 0, what does that mean?
The distribution got degenerated
Degenerated
at some point. Mean.
Right, at mean beta naught.
Yes.
Right. So that means I have precise information that my theta is same as alpha naught. Right? So you would like to use the precise information which is alpha naught. So your base estimators would turn to alpha naught, right, as beta naught goes to 0. Now let's consider a situation when beta naught goes to infinity. That means the prior distribution, when you're talking about the prior distribution of theta, which is normal, alpha naught and beta naught, I'm saying the variance goes to infinity. Variance goes to infinity, what does that reflect in real life? Many of you are going to be in analytics, right? You'll be doing some analytics, start dealing with statistics. What does this represent when I say that variance is going to infinity?
One case may be that we have fewer data points.
No, fewer data points, still it may have some information. You see, variance is infinite. That means I don't have any information regarding, right? Because these are scattered so much, I cannot make out anything from this data.
Yes, sir.
right? So beta naught, that is variance, is going to infinity. Practically, basically amount to saying that I have almost no information because variance is so much, so the mean will not give me any information because so much variability in the data. So center of the gravity will not give me any information. So beta naught going to infinity in the prior distribution means that I don't have any information. If I don't have any information, what does that mean? The only source of information available to me is data,
Data.
right? There is no prior. So that means as beta naught goes to infinity, your Bayes estimator should reduce to one of the estimators which only consider the data. So for example, in the normal case, it should be somewhere near x bar, right? And you will see that Bayes estimator, that is what happens when beta naught goes to infinity, you get x bar. Provided your prior is normal, alpha naught and beta naught. Right? So what I'm saying is they give you idea. It's always a good idea that you try to interpret these results. Look, prior information is this. If my beta naught was very large, what does that mean? That means I have very less information. Prior information gives me very less information about theta. My beta naught is 0. That means my prior information is saying that I have a full information about theta, that my theta is alpha naught. Because there is no variability, everything is sitting at alpha naught. So what happens is now you try to take a limit, because beta naught is equal to infinity is not a proper prior. Alpha naught is equal to 0 may still be is still a proper prior. So try to see what happens to the limiting case of these estimators and the posterior risk and so on, and then you try to do the analysis. So it is important in that sense.
Okay, sir.
So I think today's lecture, almost we are coming to an end. So tomorrow we'll discuss the assignment problems for assignment number 3, right? So come prepared. We can discuss those problems tomorrow. Yeah, so that's all for today. Goodbye to all of you. See you tomorrow at 8. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.